Flying carry-on only is amazing, but it's not always easy and it's not perfect. In this video, I'm getting real about the pros and cons of carry-on travel with tips for flying carry-on only, some must-know carry-on travel hacks, I'll share some strategies to help you pack more in smaller bags, and we'll even get into some coping mechanisms for when things don't end up going your way, which happens to the best of us. I'll also share why these space-saving beauties are actually the worst things that you can use in certain situations. Let's do this. Flying with carry-on luggage only has a lot of advantages. Chief among them, obviously, is that you eliminate your risk of your luggage being lost since you're not checking a bag. And if you've ever had your luggage lost, especially if you've booked onward travel like a cruise, or you've been going somewhere remote where they couldn't deliver your luggage when they did eventually find it, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say there is value in not having to worry about lost luggage. But beyond that, there are other advantages. Yeah, you won't have to wait by the luggage carousel when you arrive at the airport. That's nice. But there's more. If you're moving around a lot, checked luggage is a pain. Literally. I recently took a train from Romania to Bulgaria. Just climbing onto this train with my carry-on luggage was a challenge. I'm honestly not sure what I would have done if I had checked luggage. Then I had to haul it up onto the luggage rack, which was way above my head. Again, this would have been impossible with checked size luggage. In a recent episode about minimalist travel, I mentioned how I ended up traveling for 2 full years with carry-on luggage only, by accident. But once I realized that it was possible, if not downright enjoyable, I prioritized carry-on travel whenever possible. There are different types of carry-on bags that you can use, each with their own advantages and disadvantages specific to carry-on travel. Let's briefly go through each. You can go with a backpack. I'm not a big fan of travel backpacks in general, but if I'm going to travel with one, it's going to be carry-on sized. Long ago, I gave up hauling around large 65-liter backpacks on and off my back. I started out traveling full-time with such backpacks, so I speak from experience in saying it's not a great way to travel. But if you're traveling with carry-on sized luggage, a backpack is more manageable. Because of the smaller capacity, which is usually around 40 liters, it won't be as heavy and cumbersome as a larger backpack. Though I will admit, it's still not my preference. If, for example, I'm standing in line, let's say I'm waiting to check in for my flight, I find it a pain to haul it on and off my back, but it also weighs heavily on my shoulders if I just leave it on while I'm in line. A properly fit harness and hip belt certainly helps, but it doesn't work magic. Also, when I travel with carry-on luggage, I tend to have a separate personal item bag that houses my laptop and other valuables that go underneath the seat in front of me. And I cannot, nay, I will not, be that person who wears a backpack on my back and another backpack on my front. I did it once on a hot, sticky summer day. It wasn't pretty. I remember doing the ultimate train challenge, a crazy overland travel stunt that I did with a few full-time travel colleagues that went from Lisbon to Ho Chi Minh City. It was the longest possible train route in the world at the time, 25,000 kilometers, and we did it in 30 days. My 2 travel colleagues each had massive travel backpacks. I had since graduated from a backpack to the next form of luggage we'll discuss. And after thoroughly examining my luggage, both of my travel companions replaced their backpacks with this right after our trip. What I'm talking about is a wheeled backpack. A wheeled backpack is the best of both worlds. You can carry it on your back when the terrain isn't conducive to rolling it, and you can roll it the rest of the time. I traveled for a few years with a few different types of wheeled backpacks. I think they're fantastic as checked luggage. But there's a challenge with carry-on sized wheeled backpacks, and it's that the backpack straps, which pack away when not in use, take up valuable packing space. And when you're traveling with carry-on luggage only, every bit of packing space is gold. This brings me to wheeled luggage, which, if you haven't already figured out, is my preferred form of carry-on luggage. Wheeled luggage comes in both hard-sided and soft-sided variations. And in another episode, I dive deep into the pros and cons of each. I will link to that in the description. I'm currently on a 3-month carry-on only trip with this beauty, which is actually a wheeled backpack. But because I knew that I would need the extra space, I detached the straps, which usually zip away right here in front. So for all intents and purposes, this is just a regular old piece of soft-sided luggage. Next up, let's talk about some of the challenges and pitfalls of flying carry-on that you need to be ready for. First up, clearing airport security is going to be more of a hassle with carry-on luggage. Though stick around, in a minute I will share my top tips for getting through security as gracefully as possible when traveling with carry-on luggage. Even after you've cleared security, you've got to shepherd your carry-on luggage everywhere. And if you have a long wait for your flight, or if you have a long layover between flights, it can weigh you down. I must admit, I often look with envy on people in airports with just a small personal item bag by their side. It's much easier. Flying with carry-on luggage also means liquid restrictions. I discussed this in detail in another episode, including some solid toiletry options to make things much easier. Another challenge is if you have a big personal item bag, as I often do, this is what I'm currently traveling with, you've got to keep this under the seat in front of you while you put your carry-on luggage in the overhead bin. This restricts your ability to stretch your legs out, which, if you have long legs and/or it's a long flight, can be pretty uncomfortable. If you're traveling with checked luggage by comparison, you can keep this bag in the overhead bin as your carry-on. Weight restrictions are another carry-on challenge when flying. These vary, sometimes dramatically, by airline. Weight restrictions are particularly common in Europe. In some cases, you can purchase an upgrade to your ticket that allows you to bring a heavier or larger carry-on bag. I highly recommend you scrutinize the rules for your flight before you buy, so you can ensure that your preferred luggage will be allowed. I recently flew from Warsaw to Bucharest on Polish Airlines, and at the gate, they were putting everybody's bag into the sizer, which was also a scale. And they made everybody with overweight luggage check their bag. Keep watching, because in a minute, I'll share some tips for how you can be graceful about checking your bag if you must. One trick to not get caught out at the gate like this is to not crowd the gate as you're waiting for the boarding to begin. I was standing back as all this was happening, and they didn't ask me to weigh my bag. Suddenly, it was boarding time, and I got on without having my carry-on luggage weighed. Meanwhile, everyone else who was crowding the gate, and it was a crowded gate, they all had their luggage weighed. Now, before you suggest that this was somehow a dirty or underhanded move, I wasn't trying to sneak my luggage through. I just wasn't standing on top of the gate with a million other people waiting to be the first aboard. But this does bring an elephant into the room that I'd like to clear up. I have another episode about how to avoid carry-on baggage fees. And in some comments, I came under fire for compromising the safety of other passengers by trying to sneak on additional weight. I am well aware of the importance of weights and balances on airplanes. And I also believe that 9 times out of 10, carry-on luggage limits are a cash grab. I chatted with an aircraft engineer who said that commercial airplanes are massively overpowered. It's only on very small planes that one needs to be careful about weight. And you'll know when you're on one of those planes because they will weigh not only all of your bags, but they also weigh all of the passengers too. I know, I've been on these planes. The reality is, the difference between my weight and another passenger's weight can more than make up for 10 passengers with slightly overweight carry-on luggage. So, unless they're weighing passengers, I just don't believe that I'm going to crash the plane by carrying on luggage that is 1 kilo overweight. But here's the second part to this. If you must check the bag, just check the damn bag. It's not the end of the world. The advantages of carry-on travel extend far beyond the airport. So, let's say that you're told that you need to check your carry-on luggage. Here's how to be ready for that. First, don't keep anything super valuable in your bag that's going to get checked. This includes not only things of monetary value, but also anything with sentimental value, anything fragile, and any prescription medication that you have. Keep these things in your personal item bag. And if you're traveling with just one piece of luggage and that luggage needs to be checked, then make sure that you have a packable backpack like this that you can then pull out, and then you can fill with the items that you need to take on the plane with you. While you're busy pulling out items to take on board with you, pull out a change of clothes to get you by just in case your luggage gets delayed. Also, anything with a lithium battery needs to come out of your checked luggage and go into your personal item bag. Next up, if your carry-on luggage doesn't have built-in TSA locks, then have a TSA lock handy to lock up your luggage zippers before you check it. But let's see if we can keep your overall carry-on luggage weight down so you don't end up in this situation in the first place. Here's how. Watch out for packing tools like vacuum bags and even compressible packing cubes. While I am a huge fan of compressible packing cubes from a space-saving perspective, the reality is if you're going to fill all that space with extra stuff, chances are your bag is going to end up overweight. For a very short time, I used those vacuum bags that really compress your clothes. Not only was I dismayed at having everything come out irrevocably wrinkled, but it meant that I packed so much extra stuff into my luggage that it was super duper heavy. This was years ago before carry-on luggage got weighed all the time, so I never really had trouble flying with it. More like I just had trouble lugging it around. You can also keep your carry-on luggage weight down by maximizing the space and weight of your personal item bag. Again, this is highly variant depending on the airline. Some airlines have little, if any, allowance for personal item bags, while others allow much larger bags. Most airlines don't weigh personal item bags, but some do. Regardless, whatever space and weight allowances you have for your personal item bag, use it. Here's a tip to resist overpacking. Remind yourself that you can probably get whatever you need at your destination. I'll admit, this one can be a challenge for me at times. I have a nasty habit of packing for any and every occasion, resulting in carry-on luggage that is so full that I no longer have room for getting anything along the way, which I inevitably regret at some point. Having a little extra space in your luggage also makes it way easier every time you pack and repack. And you'll be happy about the extra space if you move around and are packing and unpacking a lot. Along these lines, I challenge you to a carry-on packing experiment the next time you take a trip. Bring stuff you don't mind leaving behind as you travel, or stuff that you'll be consuming, or stuff that you'll intentionally plan to replace along the way. Or you can really level up this experiment by purposely not bringing something that you suspect you'll want, and then you can make it a fun mission to find that item during your travels, and it can also become a souvenir from that place. For example, on this trip that I'm currently on, I had my packing list all worked out. But then somebody at my destination told me that it was unseasonably cold, and I got really worried that I didn't have enough warm clothing. So I packed an extra layer, a merino wool hoodie. Not only did this tip me over into dangerously overpacked territory, but as it turns out, I didn't really need the hoodie because the weather warmed up. Even if I did need that extra layer, I could have bought something at my destination. Don't be me. Underpack. You will thank me later. Okay, I promised you some tips for clearing airport security with your carry-on luggage, since the extra bag can slow down the process a bit. Here's how to make it a breeze. First, keep your TSA-approved liquids bag handy and separate from the rest of your toiletries. I keep mine in my personal item bag, or in the side pocket of my luggage. Ideally, I don't need to pull anything out of my actual luggage, just my personal item bag, which has my laptop. Next, it's good to have a strategy for your trays as you go through security. I tend to use 3 trays, one for my luggage, one for my laptop, liquids, and other miscellaneous items, which I make sure is in the middle of the 3 trays, and one for my personal item bag. With my laptop and other valuables in the middle tray, it decreases the chances of somebody walking away with my stuff, on purpose or by accident, and it also makes it easier for me to keep an eye on it if I get held up in the lineup for the body scanner. I'm going to wrap this video up with my top tip for staying organized throughout your trip when flying with carry-on luggage. Ready? This is super important. Everything has its place. When I'm packing for a trip, my initial pack job inevitably takes way longer than subsequent ones. That's because I'm busy choosing what to pack and then scrutinizing my choices in order to keep my luggage weight and bulk down. There's an adage that goes something like this: lay out everything you want to take on your trip, then take away half, then take away half again. That's what you really need for your trip. And despite having been a career traveler for 17 years now, I still go through a similar process whenever I'm packing for a trip, especially because my carry-on trips tend to be 3 to 5 months long, often through multiple climates and scenarios, so it's a challenge no matter how you slice it. Then, once I've selected everything, it's time to play luggage Tetris and figure out where everything goes. Once I lock this down, I keep it the same throughout my trip. That way, I know my rain jacket is in this pocket when I need it, and I know my extension cord is in that pocket. My passport is here, my workout clothes are there. Life on the road with carry-on luggage is so much easier when you don't have to rip apart your meticulously packed luggage every time you need something. In a recent video about long-haul flight hacks, I mentioned that flying is hard on the body, but I didn't get into specifics. My friend Megan of Portable Professional created a video all about exactly what happens to your body when you fly. There were some surprising facts in there, so check it out if you dare. What are your hacks for flying with carry-on luggage? Please share them in the comments. Also, please share this video with a friend who's traveling soon so we can all travel smart in style. I'm Nora Dunn, aka the Professional Hobo, and I'll catch you next time.